All right. um, a few years ago, I'd gotten into the habit of like reading, you know, chapter after chapter. I read a whole chapter in the Bible. I read every chapter of Genesis, Psalms, and Proverbs, the same chapter every day for a month, and I do commentary. And it's like amazing how, you can get something new out of something, right? But I wanted to glean every little bit I could, and then I was in that process, and then I started learning about the symbolism and the Paleo Hebrew. And then I couldn't do it like that anymore, because I was getting revelation. I was trying to read in Matthew. I'm reading what Christ is saying, and it blew up. It just expounded in my mind, because I have this understanding. I'm learning the symbolism in the Paleo Hebrew, which is like ultra symbolism, right? And it's like a 3 or 4 dimensional communication, right? Every little symbol has like 4 to 6 meanings, and depending on where you're at, depends on what you pick up on. Anyway, so now I'm reading Matthew. So I just read, Matthew 1 through 5 today. Oh yeah, and then I came to this understanding that see, people that just Christians that just read the Bible, we're not really getting what's going on. We don't understand that with the Jews, there were different sects. There were those that followed Abraham and those that followed Moses, and they were, battling for control. And then you got, so then Christ comes along. So on the Sermon on the Mount, where he's talking about the Beatitudes, chapter 5. Okay, so Jordan Peterson talks about this. When Christ, says, "Blessed be the meek, for they shall inherit the earth." Well, Jordan Peterson points out that meek don't mean what we think it means. Okay? It's not some wimpy little guy. It's somebody who's got the power to be destructive, but retains it. He just stands on it. He knows what he's got, and he'll use it when he needs it. Okay, but he knows it's there. It's got that potential to do damage, but you don't let it go all the time. Okay. All right, and then when what blessed means, what blessed means. Blessed isn't God, showering grace on us and giving us goodies and all that. What it's basically meaning is seeking the Lord, being in that place where you're after God, you're trying to understand Him. So the more you dig into the Bible and you're seeking God, when you're trying to understand what He wants or what He's about, then that's when you're being blessed. Okay, And it usually happens when you're going through crisis, right? So people go, you sneeze, and somebody goes, bless you. Like, no, no, I don't need to do that. I know, I know what's going on. I know what's happening, right? So in Matthew, oh yeah, and the other aspects of it, right? So King Herod and Caiaphas were cousins, and they were from the line of Esau. In other words, they were Edomites. Okay. So they still came from Isaac, okay, who was the son of Abraham, but they weren't from Jacob, okay, and that birthed the tribes of Israel, okay, the 12 tribes. They were out of the 12 tribes, okay. Oh yeah. And then Judas Iscariot was also an Edomite, okay. I'm like, oh. And now what Christ was doing, because Christ came from the right lineage, right? He was trying to not only was he trying to reestablish the proper lineage of leadership in the faith, okay, he was also trying to teach the right things, teach the correct symbolism, teach the Paleo Hebrew, which is all symbolism. Okay, so that is so, it's fascinating when I listen to oh goodness, Myron Golden, and he starts saying things. I'm like, oh, he knows Paleo Hebrew. Isn't that interesting, right? And the symbolism, right? Okay, and I'm like, oh, all right. So I like listening to that guy. I listen to him when I run in the morning. And but I listen for if somebody's quoting, Origin. So you had Origin was this like eclectic, what would you say? Super smart. There's a term for it. Like a savant when it came to the Word of God, and he's prolific in his writing, and at a real young age, like 90% of the Bible, our Bible, was compiled by Origin, and he started the library in Alexandria. Him and the Ignatius. Ignatius was the child that Christ sat on his lap and says, unless you have the faith, of a child, you can't enter the kingdom of heaven, right? And so that was him. So those two guys, they really. So when somebody starts quoting, and he was a disciple of John. John was the youngest of the disciples, and lived the longest. And yeah, my girlfriend's little dog wants to take on the big dog. Yeah, we're going to that neighborhood with the Chihuahuas and the pit bulls, and this is very interesting, right? Because guess what? So when I start understanding what Christ is talking about, he's talking about getting control of your attitude. Okay? Not getting all riled up and let your emotions get away from you. Like my dog, like the dog does, right? Keep it in check, right? Use it when you need it, right? But understand that it's dangerous. Okay? People see you out of control. They're like, danger, stay away. Danger, Will Robinson. Okay? And they're gonna avoid you. They're gonna like cut ties, right? Because they don't want to, that it seeps into everything. It spreads. It's nasty, and it's what makes us different from the animals. Okay, and so I'm walking the dog. This little half Chihuahua, half Terrier thinks that she's the king of the hill. It's just get her eat up. And get control. This is what he's talking about. And when you start, it just helps me when I'm in the scriptures to be able to get control of my thoughts and my mind and be what he's saying to be. Anyway, I know I get good feedback most of the time. All right, hope you enjoy it. Have a good day.